Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. Know your planets, know yourself, or know your nation, know yourself. The two are interchangeable. All right, so this is this is sort of like a little quickie video. As you know, I've got my Thursday fry up tomorrow, where I'll be taking more of your questions and stuff like that. And I just wanted to kind of touch base a little bit. As you know, I've been traveling a lot over Japan. And one of the things that I want to do is, like I've done already, I want to make another video for my membership and stuff like that of my adventures. But I think I'll also make a public video as well of my adventures in Japan. So far, I've been trying to find quiet moments. It's been extremely busy. My friend Chris has helped organize so much of this trip. The days have been extremely full. And Chris and Gustav, they're out now, and I said, look, guys, I'm just gonna chill out. I just need need time to just have a bit of time to kind of process and reflect. It's been upon thousands of miles of travel, but also as well, I wanted to kind of touch base and kind of connect, because as we all now know, we are at the time of me making this video, which is Thursday, and I've forgotten. Oh my god, I've actually forgotten the actual date. That's how much I've been traveling. But it is now my Thursday night in Japan. Japan is 8 hours ahead of London, and I think it's 13 hours ahead of New York Eastern time. So it's still very much kind of early Thursday going into earlyish Thursday in America, and afternoon in UK. So when I do my Thursday fry up, it will be my Friday morning Japan. Anyway, that aside, what I want to touch base on is just we've got less than 2 weeks to go until the election happens. And I just wanted to do a dial in with tarot just to see how things are going. I'm going to pull cards for Duck Orange, Trump, and I'm going to pull cards for Kamala. And just looking at their potential prospects, how they're looking. It is, from what I can understand, it is still close in the polls. And I did have someone write in the comments to me being like, when are you going to get off the fence? Who's going to win? Blah, blah, blah. And, as I've said before, it is still very close. And I said, Venus will decide this election. And what I mean by that is women. If enough women come out and vote for Kamala, then it will be hers. But that is not guaranteed. And as much as I do, the astrology and of course the cards and all of that kind of stuff, like I said, both of them obviously have the potential to do it. Trump's done it before. His chart has a strong configuration with the USA natal chart. So does Kamala's. But of course, she's not done it before. And we also have to recognize as well the political situation that is currently in America right now. And the fact that this race is still even close in of itself says a lot. So I saw the highlights on CNN of the kind of like the talk that Kamala did with a live audience and stuff like that. I found that very interesting. I couldn't find. I've not had. I can't find the. I'd have to maybe track down at some point the longer version. But like I said, I've had very little time. So this is the first time, or probably probably about a week or so, where I've been able to kind of engage with some of the kind of the stories that have been unfolding, because there's been so much travel up and down. But now that I'm here on my own in the hotel room on my own, I've had a time to kind of have a look, and I think she gave a good performance. And it was interesting listening to the CNN panel, what they were talking about, the strengths of it, the weaknesses of it, and of course they have one or two Republicans on there, and he was saying he wasn't convinced, etc., and all of this kind of stuff. As we know, all of this rhetoric flying backwards and forwards, but I thought she made some very good points, particularly in terms of reminding, pardon me, people what is at stake, and of course talking about that general who basically described in his own words, and he was categorical, he described Trump as a fascist. And so did Kamala. And I'll just add in there as well for entertainment purposes. Only, as you know, these videos are read by AI, and we still have to be very careful what we say here on YouTube. But those are the words, that's the language that is now out there. So I just thought I'll dial in with the two of them now. Now, I will be back in the UK on the 2nd of November. And my plan is, because obviously the election is on the 5th, so maybe on the 3rd, I think that will probably be realistic. Maybe on the 3rd, that's when I will go back in for one of the final times before the election actually happens, where I will do a deep dive on Trump, on Kamala, looking at their charts, looking at the various strengths or weaknesses that either might have, and then maybe pulling cards on that as well, and just having that as a kind of an election deep dive special just before. But with this reading here, this is going to be basically a tarot based reading, and just reading the energy around both of the candidates now, because there's less than 2 weeks to go. And of course the two of them, they must. I'm sure they're feeling tired. I could even actually, Kamala's voice sounded quite rested on this one that I heard, but I heard there was a little bit of rasp because obviously she would have been speaking an awful lot. And of course, there's been speculation about Trump's energy. We had a look at that, of course, on Hergele, and he's kind of fronting. In terms of just how much this is actually taking it out of him. I mean, he's a 78-year-old man at the end of the day, and he's not invincible. But let's just take a look. Let's just take a look at the energies. Let's just see where they are, and I'm going to just read on both of them and see how they're doing. The last time I checked, Kamala was just ahead in the poll of polls. Now, when I saw this must have been about a week or so ago. So, and they had her around about 3 points up in the poll of polls. But of course, the swing states matter a great deal. She did an audience, of course, with the independents, didn't she? She did an audience with the independents. I do find it quite fascinating that there are still people, even at this late stage, that are yet to make up their minds. It means those are also winnable potentially as well for Kamala as well. But there were many things that came up as well, from what I understand, talking of course about the conflict between Israel and Palestine. And as you guys know, I've warned several times before. I said this would become a sticking point at the election, and it still seems to be the case. And there is a big Muslim population in Chicago, I am told, that are, of course, not very happy with the Democrats. But then also as well, the Jewish vote, of course, is also incredibly important. And there are arguments on that side as well. And let's not forget as well that, Kamala's spouse, her husband, is also Jewish as well. So this is a very, very difficult topic for her, but I think she gave a good answer where she was talking about a two-state solution, etc., and dignity for both sides. Whether or not Netanyahu will let that happen is another thing entirely, isn't it? And then of course, continued controversies keep coming out about Trump. Apparently there is a Guardian article. No, I'm going to need to track this down for myself, but I was just catching up on some other channels and stuff, and there is allegedly a Guardian article talking about Trump and Epstein and molestation, shall we say, of young girls. Let's just put it that way. How much of this will make a difference, a dent in his campaign at this stage? I doubt, because look, think about it. there are a lot of people, and it's very interesting when I read through some of the comments on the videos, where in those comments people talk about their own family members or friends. And what I see in the comments is a lot of people saying, you know, those that are going to vote for Trump, they really, you know, they really don't care about the bad stuff. And so we're just in a very, very interesting time, guys. But let's just tune in with the energy. I'm going to pull cards for Trump first, just to see what's going on here, and then pull for Kamala. So this video, let's see how long I'll probably end up, you know, once I get the pulling with the cards, we'll see where it goes. But I'll pull for them both. But it's certainly not going to be an hour-long video. This is just a dial in, and then we'll go into, of course, some of the more the questions. Many of you have put your questions in already for my Thursday fry up, and I'll be doing that. But the guys will be probably asleep next to me in the hotel room, so I don't want to disturb them too much. I wanted to film somewhere else, but it wasn't possible in the hotel. So let's tune in. Okay, let's tune in with Trump. How's Trump doing on his campaign? What's his support like? How's he feeling? How's the campaign feeling around him? How's he feeling about himself in the race? And one of the things they were talking about, this is very, very interesting. They're saying Kamala is being held to a different standard, or maybe is Kamala being held to a different standard? Yes, she is. That is abundantly clear. Otherwise, this it wouldn't even be close, would it? It wouldn't even be within the margin of error. Anyway, so Trump, how's he feeling? And this is a little take on the energies right now, but of course I'm going to look at their charts again closer to, so I'll have to figure out which day the 3rd is of November, but I think that's when doing that comparison is the most crucial, and just seeing based on the charts and the tarot who is more likely to win on that day. Also as well, we need to see where Venus is, what Jupiter is doing. All of these things are contributing factors, and I'm probably going to need to kind of research that a little bit more as well once I'm back at home and I have access to my software, which I've not had access to for almost a month now. Anyway, Trump, what cards did he get? So if we look here, he gets the 6 of Cups. Now this is fascinating. This card very often comes up for the GOP. And this is a card, really, this is a card of nostalgia. So what this tells me is that, believe it or not, again, for all of the fluster and bluster and stuff like that, I think Duck L'Orange is nostalgic for his past. Yeah, for his past. He's probably reflecting on his life, the time of when, before he became president, where he basically had next to no accountability at all, was, you know, a reality TV star, was, you know, basically being able to run around and play and just, you know, do whatever he wanted. So here, this is a card which can often be associated with the past, looking back, fond memories of a time that has gone. This also as well, it does deal with children as well. So there could be an element here of the whiff of the Epstein here as well coming up in this reading. And as we know, the cards can often say multiple things at once. So this is at once, I think this is talking about the situation coming up with Epstein and minors. But this is also talking about Trump's nostalgia, wanting to go back to a time before he was president. Now, if we look here in the obstacle position, we have the King of Wands. Now, the King of Wands, now remember, the Wands suite is all about fire, passion. That's the element that they represent. And as you know, I associate the one suite very much with entrepreneurialism as well. So here, of course, this is almost like Trump as the businessman. Yeah, Trump as the businessman, the entrepreneur, wanting to make decisions. Now, technically, this can be considered the obstacle position, but if the first card is positive, which this one is, this is a bit more reinforcing. So what this says to me is, I think very much in terms of how his viewers, let's also try and look at through the lens of the supporters as well, because I think those that support Trump are nostalgic. Yeah, they are nostalgic. They are looking back to the past, to the relative recent past, when Trump was in power. And I think they're thinking about that more fondly. They're actually referring to it now, aren't they, as Trump nostalgia. So I'm also getting the electorate through here, an element of the electorate through here as well. And this, I think what they're seeing is they still see him as, believe it or not, the successful businessman and stuff like that. We know he's been grifting and grafting. I mean, selling watches, gold shoes, etc., and all of that kind of stuff. But in a funny way, I think to his base, they don't see that as vulgar. I think they see that as entrepreneurial. Yeah, they're seeing that as entrepreneurial. Even maybe even quite celebrating the opportunistic element there. But we also understand this is also part of Trump's grift as well, because he needs to try and keep raising money, etc. Kamala has far outraised him in terms of cash. But bringing this back to Duck Larange, we see here, look, we've got the Hanged Man here. I think there is an element where he is seeing things from a different perspective. Yeah, this is the card of being held up, but this is also the card, the Hanged Man, of seeing things from a different perspective. I think running against Kamala has forced him to reconsider many things, many assumptions that he had, that he thought were baked in. But also as well, this is an element here. It's almost like, I think he's decided, look, I'm going to stick with the plan. I'm going to stick with the strategy that works. I don't think this is about him necessarily reaching out to new voters, because this isn't an experimental card. It's the Hanged Man. So as you can see here, he's in a fixed position. It's the slowest card in the deck. It really isn't going anywhere. So it's almost like, you know what? I'll just double down on the base. I can't really win any more new ones. I'll just keep going with my rhetoric, and I'll rely on the nostalgia factor, yeah, and my reputation as a businessman, even though he's been bankrupt 6 times. It doesn't matter. With his base, this is something that still carries favor. And he's not going to be changing up his tactics anytime soon. And obviously, he's not going to be engaging in any more debates. Like I said, he wouldn't. Yeah, I knew after it was one and done with Kamala, he got a bit of a roasting on that, a pasting. So of course, he's not gonna put himself back in an embarrassing situation, is he? If we look here, we see here now we've got the Ace of Cups. Now the Ace of Cups can of course talk about happiness, fulfillment, a sense of ease, but we also need to also understand it is coming with the Hanged Man as well, which of course can imply some challenges, because again there's that change of perspective. So I think in terms of his base, it's about keeping their emotions high. Yeah, it's really what this is about. It's about keeping the emotions high, elevated, agitated, on edge. But what this also shows as well for me, this is also talking about the emotions that Duck Larange is feeling himself as well. He maybe even be feeling a bit of overwhelm. Of course, he is never going to be able to admit it, but there is a sense of overwhelm. And if we look here, the outcome card is the 8 of Cups, which of course we know, which is a walking away, abandoning something, leaving something behind. So as much as he has to put forward his rhetoric, there is a part of him that is prepared to walk away and leave everything behind. I really do feel like this is the the real apex here. He knows that if he doesn't win and the election is ratified against him, yeah, he's got to get out, yeah. Kamala will not only be uh she will not only be commander in chief, she will also be prosecutor in chief as well. This is someone, assuming she becomes president, who will be able to use absolutely every skill at her disposal and her legal clout and knowledge. And she really will be able to, bring a full, undiluted accountability to Duck Larange. So if she wins, he'll have to get out of Dodge. So even as much as he's presenting things, look, I see here he is prepared to go. I think there is an exit strategy, but I think it's all of the tokens are down on the deck. He's not going to change up his position. We've only got 2 weeks to go. I think he understands that the die is cast in many ways, but it also shows as well those that are sticking with him are going to stick with him, but it is their choice. The thing with the Hanged Man as well is that he can release himself of his own free will, and you see the other foot here is free, yeah. So they are choosing to stick with him, irrespective of the different perspectives that may be shown to them as well. But I think this is here with Dr. Larange saying, you know what, I'm just going to have to stick with this, stick with the emotions, yeah, keep the emotions flowing, keep them flowing. But I think he has his backup plan just in case it doesn't work out. And we all know that he's certainly going to walk away from democracy if he ever got into power. All right, so let's have a read on Kamala. Oh, that's interesting. You see that? Ah, 2 cards fell out. Ooh, look at this. 2 cards fell out here for Kamala. Queen of Swords and the Magician. Very, very powerful. Wow. Okay. Looks like quite a good omen for her. Let's shuffle. Oh my God, what the earth? Do you see this? Wow, the cards are really jumping. Okay. So the cards are really jumping for Kamala. What's the energy around her? How's she feeling about her campaign? And her voters. Let's maybe ask about the independents as well, because we know the Democrats are staunchly behind her. But let's make this reading about the independents, because that's where it's going to be won, isn't it? Dr. Larange is just sticking with his base like that Hanged Man, yeah? He's just staying there. And he's hoping to win with that, but he has his little exit strategy up his sleeve in case he loses. Whoever's going to vote for Kamala is obviously going to vote for Kamala, but that CNN debate was with the independents, isn't it? So that's where it's going. This election is going to be won in centimeters and inches. You never know. I mean, there could be a surprise. I would hope that she would win by a landslide, but I'm not going to go there yet. I'm just not. It's too close. But let's just see. How is she doing with independence? How is she coming across with them? Well, the Democrats know what's at stake. It's not a question about what's at stake for them, but there are still, even today, people undecided. So I think it's more important to focus on them. How are the independents feeling about Kamala? Are they going to support her? Are there enough to get her over the line? The Magician and the Queen of Swords, of course, she's going to do absolutely everything she can to win. This is complex. With the independence, it's complex, guys. It's complex. If we look here, her first card is very good. Yeah, she gets the victory card. So, you know, that's a good omen. And let's not forget as well that the Queen of Swords and the Magician fell out. So they do see her as a winner. Yeah, independence, they do see her as a winner. They do see her as someone that can take America forward, turn the page, as she's been saying, yeah? Bring, you know, potential wealth and prosperity and positive things. This is a very positive card, so it's nice that the reading is opening with this. But let's look at the obstacle card. If we look here, she gets the Four of Swords. Now, this is a tricky card for me, and I don't really like it seeing coming up, particularly when it comes to campaigns and stuff like that, because it's not the best. It's not the best omen. So it's like they are still contemplating. They are still thinking. In the positive, this is a card of contemplation. As you can see here, the man is restful with his hands in prayer, and the light from the window is coming down. So this can be a restful state. So this shows there are really people still meditating on how they're going to vote, even up to the last minute. Yeah, even up to the last minute. Even though they can see that she would be a great, you know, contender, that there's a lot that she can bring to the table, there are still these reservations. There's still reservations in some, and they really haven't decided at this very late stage. If we look here in the middle, we get the Fool card. Now, it doesn't mean that the independents are foolish. No, of course not. This is a card, ultimately, which is always about a leap of faith. Are they prepared to take the leap of faith to support Kamala and usher in a brave new world? Yeah, a new America. Yeah, are they prepared to do that? For many of us that obviously support Kamala and Tim Walz, she's an obvious choice. She would be the most qualified president ever, and that's just fact based with her background and stuff. But for some, you know, for many of these independents, she's still seen as an unknown. It's still requiring this leap of faith. Another factor as well is the economy. Yeah, I think this is one of the things. I think the inflation and stuff like that has probably been one of the biggest drags on it. Again, you know, as Kamala was saying herself, you know, the vice president doesn't get to decide, you know, very much. They're there in the room, but as you guys know, watching, it's very much seen as a supporting role. Of course, she had casting votes on ballots, etc., and stuff like that. But for me, when I see this card come up and this hesitancy that there is in the potential independence, even though that they see that she has great potential, that the money, the economy is still a big factor, and how wealthy people feel basically is something that's there. And if we look here, the outcome card here is the Five of Swords, which can often talk about what the battlefield, you know, an abuse of power, etc. But what this says to me is here there is an element here with the independents where they feel, I have a feeling there's this sense of things not being fair. Yeah, things not being fair in the economy. Yeah, in the economy. Yeah, and I feel like she is being associated with things that don't really belong with her. Do you know what I mean? That don't really belong with her. Yes, she was in the room, but the vice president is not making these big, massive decisions. And it's very interesting because if we think of like Mike Pence, for example, he's not been saddled and blamed with a lot of the decisions that Trump made when he was in power, that Duck LaRange made. Yet Kamala is being very much associated, with the decisions of the Biden administration, etc., and stuff like that. Not all of which that she would have had an influence on, although she has worked with a lot of stuff. But there is this element as well. And one of the things that she said as well in the talk was that there's been quite a bit of disinformation around her as well. So this abuse of power can also be speaking about those that if I read the cards backwards, as you know, I'd sometimes like to do, those that have a vested interest in Duck Larange winning, particularly in regards to money, taxes, yeah, and stuff like that. What I'm reminded to say now in my mind is that when I was doing a read, I think it was last week as well, the church as well doesn't pay tax. Yeah, they have a vested people looking at Opus Dei and stuff like that, and JD Vance's connections. So there is that abuse there of a power there in order to, a lot of people are actually voting for Trump because they feel it's going to be financially better for them. Simple as that. And because of that, they're prepared to take that leap of faith. Yeah. And they've been meditating and thinking about that on for a long time. And they believe that that will be victorious for them. Yeah. So when I read it backwards, this is almost talking about Kamala's opponents. But going back to the independents, they do see her as a potential, they do see her qualities. Let me pull 2 clarifiers. In fact, I'll pull 3 clarifiers on the 5 of Swords to see, dig deeper on where they might feel those abuses are, or where her enemies are. Trying to score extra points. Let's get a bit more insight on that. How interesting. This is intriguing, guys. This is very intriguing. Look, the Magician is back. The Magician is back. This is a very, very, very powerful card, but it is doing a read. This shows Kamala's ability to win. She can do it, but I also have to see this from the perspective of independence as well. So they do see that she has the goods, but then we have the High Priestess here as well. And this card in the positive is when a person is tuning in with their spirituality, their higher power, or wanting to call on a higher power to bring that knowledge down. So in a funny way, I think she's going to have to talk about her spirituality a bit more, actually, believe it or not. I think she's going to have to talk a bit more about her spirituality. I think this is something that the independents are wanting to know about her. And as much as she's been out there doing her thing, I think they still feel like that she's a bit of a mystery in a way, which I don't think is really fair. I think she's actually been really quite clear on her policies. I'm sure many of you watching would agree. And if we look here, we've got the 5 of Cups. So we can see 3 are spilled, but 2 are still standing up. So again, this is talking about the independence. There's something that they're grieving, something that they feel that they've lost. Yeah. And I think that loss in some way is being associated with Kamala, which I don't think is necessarily fair. However, they do see these qualities. So if we look here, if we look at 2 of these cards, they do see her winning potential. So I think it's a case of she has to keep talking to the independents. I think in the next 2 weeks, she should focus on the independents and share even more of her internal world with them. Things to do with her faith and spirituality. I think she spoke about they didn't show it in the highlight reel, but on the comments, the commenters, the pundits were saying that she spoke about praying, etc. and stuff like that. I think she needs to speak more about that. It's it's personality politics, really, isn't it? At the end of the day, here is personality politics. And I think this is part of the reason why Duck Larange has been able to get away with being very kind of thin on policy, really. When he goes into the detail, he doesn't give very much detailed answers at all. And I think Kamala has given more detailed answers than he has, but she is being held to a different standard, which really, which really isn't fair. And I don't think it's a maybe, it is a definite. But I think the independents can see, they recognize what she can bring for them as well. But it's requiring this leap of faith. They're still hesitant about her because I think they feel they still don't know enough yet. But if she can keep talking to them, I think she can turn this around. And I'm happy to see the magician card here as well. So, she does have a tremendous amount of strengths which are being recognized. So I think the more she talks, the more she communicates, particularly over the next couple of weeks, her chances of victory, of course, increase. She's still slightly ahead in the polar polls, but it's still in that margin for error. But there are powerful cards that she does have here in this reading. So yeah, I think it's about the independence. If she wins the independence, then that will be enough. So it'll be the female Democrat vote, obviously, with some of the Republican female vote. And then if it's independent women and some of the independent men that also vote for Kamala, then she'll do it. But she still needs to convince them. I think there's been so much spin around her. They still see her as a mystery. But I'm hoping this magician card, this will really, really come through for Kamala. And to wrap up with Dr. Larange, he's going to be sticking with his tactics. Oh, look, yeah, look, if we look here, the base of the deck, it's the messaging, it's the offer. More detail on the messaging and the offer when it comes to the independence. Yeah, when it comes to the independence. So, and then with Duck Larange, he's sticking with his game. He's knows that there's no point changing now, but he does have a backup plan in case things don't work out in his favor. So I will leave it there. I hope you found that interesting, guys. Just as a temperature check to see where we are. Of course, I'll do my Thursday wrap tomorrow. Many of you have put your questions in already. Fascinating questions. So I'll be doing that my Friday morning Japan time. And then, of course, on Saturday, there's a question mark actually for Hogili. I'll have to see. I'll have to make sure that I've got strong, good internet. I'll know that in the next day or so. And we will take it from there. So it is, she can do it, but she's got to win those independents. And there's still a bit on the fence about her, isn't it? Do you see in those cards? Still there on the fence. But let's hope they come off the fence and vote en masse for Kamala, and so that she can get in and make a good stab of changing things up. Because I mean, the abortion stuff is just a horror show as it is already. But imagine with 20% tariffs on everything coming into the United States and 40% on the goods from China, that is certainly not going to make life cheaper. But, he's getting a pass on that, along with all the other stuff that he's getting on. But such is the world at the moment, folks. Still very, very, very close. But on the 3rd, I will do, again, that deep dive. Kamala's chart, Donald Trump's chart, seeing where the planets are, how that will potentially affect things, plus a tarot read on top. And that will hopefully give some extra clarity either way of who is most likely to win. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. I will leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me. Please, of course, don't forget to like and subscribe and share. As particularly if you've been watching for a while and you've not subscribed yet, that would be great. For the membership, you'll be getting your personalized sort of video on Japan, and then I might do a Japan video later on. It might be when I'm back from the UK or when I next have a moment. Anyway, I will leave it there now. Big love, everyone, and let's see what happens, eh? All right, bye bye for now. Cheers.